We're going to start with Honi because she's...
Thanks very much, Warwick. Welcome, everybody, and thank you so much. It's good to see a full house. We are very proud to be able to release and launch this document today for manufacturers and on behalf of manufacturers in Victoria and, of course, Australia. We're not just stopping at the borders. We know that manufacturing can do better. And when we were at board level and discussing what to do and where to go with this, we asked, we did some soul searching, and it was really about our why and what can manufacturing and why is manufacturing so necessary in Australia, and what can it do to help our economy. Well, we know we've got lots of jobs on offer, and we know that there is growth and huge opportunity here. So our why for this document is to increase our GDP from 5.9% to 10% within the next 5 years. It's a big ask, but we know that with the Australian manufacturers behind us and government beside us, we can work together to do that. We've got incredible career opportunities, incredible innovators here, and we know that there is a huge support for Australian manufacturers. We know that manufacturing is the 5th largest economic contributor to the Australian GDP, with 30.8 billion per annum, which is 5%. But as I said, we want to take it to 10.
Yeah.
We want to back sovereign capability as far as possible. And we want the government, all departments, to buy Australian-made products wherever possible.
Yeah.
So our why, as I said, is that we want to increase the GDP. And how we're going to do this is through this comprehensive document. It is a policy document aimed at government on behalf of manufacturers. We looked at our 5 pillars of growth, and I have a clicker, which is always good. That's me, right? That's us. If you don't know about SEMMA, we've been operating for 22 years, and part of the Australian manufacturing economy. Our what, that's what we want to do, to 10%. Because we know that manufacturing helps provide a greater standard of living for people, and it also offers incredible pathways and innovation and export opportunities. And how we're going to do this is through this document. Our 5 pillars of growth: economic, energy, expand, educate, and involve. Yes, we like the letter E, but it's really just the flow on. So we're looking very closely to talk with the government to set and cap tax rates for manufacturers, enable low interest rates, no or low interest rate loans. We're looking at something quite innovative, a golden tax exit from family businesses. This could well encourage consolidation of the smaller businesses. And we're looking for capital allowance instead of tax cuts. Energy. Well, energy is a huge issue for manufacturers, so we need to make sure that we have a consistent supply. And we also need to think about a cap system for large users. Of course, we want to expand. We want to see SME growth through innovation, R&D, Industry 4.0, and automation. We know we've got the smarts in this country to do it. Heck, if we invented the Victor lawnmower and the good old Hills hoist, the world is our oyster. And we want to increase export and capability. Education is our 4th pillar, and it's crucially important in this day and age to have the skill set, have the education, the qualifications, and to upskill those people who are in the industry at the moment as we transition. We're working very closely with several universities and also the TAFE sector to do that. And we want to evolve, and that means through policies and regulation. We want to see a better opportunity for manufacturers in that space, one where we cut through red and green tape. Well, that's it for me. We will keep the curly questions for the President, and please stick around after the presentation. You've all got your copy, and we encourage you to have a look through that and come and see us on our stand. Over to you, Peter.
That's enough.
Well, good afternoon. Is it afternoon? It is too. So, look, welcome everybody. And I want to actually acknowledge the owners of traditional manufacturing businesses, because that's what we're here for. You look around the room today, manufacturing isn't dead. It's not dying. It's changing and evolving. And probably the biggest change we've had in manufacturing in the last couple of decades, we've gone from being a high volume manufacturer, whether it's the automotive industry, some of those sort of things, and white goods. We're now low volume, high quality, high compliance. And that's where we have to be as a manufacturing country. And there's a lot of export opportunities within that. So that's where it's evolved. And Darwin's theory of evolution was not survival of the fittest or the strongest, but survival of those most capable of change. And that's where you'll see a lot of our SEMMA members in particular, and we've got a couple in the room here today, they're changing and they're evolving by being small and exporting. One of our members does a lot of export to US defence. US are great at scale, but they're not very good at small volume. So that's one area where manufacturing needs to improve, and that's where we think there's a great opportunity and a big point of difference that we have with the rest of the world. We've got all the natural resources here. We probably don't make as good a use of them as we could. It's probably too easy to import from China, and we have that mentality sometimes. So we need to change the way we think, and that's what part of the blueprint's all about. So in our heyday, manufacturing was about 19 to 20% of GDP. We know that's a bridge too far, but getting to 10% by 2030, for every extra 1% of GDP, it's about $27 to $30 billion of economic activity. So that's our goal for the next 5 years and beyond. So how do we get there, and why is it important? I'll give you one little story we did, pardon me, and Todd, I think I saw you here before. About 5 or 6 years ago, Todd from Hilton Manufacturing put in a micro-credential welding course, and we repeated this course about 3 years ago. There's a young guy named Liam who was going to a school for disadvantaged, or disengaged, I should say. If he went to school 2 days a month, that was a good month. His mother just didn't know what to do with him, had no idea how to, what he was going to do for the rest of his life. Came along, did the micro course, which was essentially a welding introduction course. It was more of an introduction to manufacturing, and we did this in conjunction with the TAFE and the Chisholm down there. Next thing you know, he's got a job with one of our members. He was offered an apprenticeship not long after, and I think he's probably due to become a qualified boilermaker in the next few weeks. So there's a great story of how manufacturing can actually help people like that. Otherwise, he would have been lost to the system. But that's where manufacturers, by promoting, doing something different. We were frustrated with the educational system, weren't probably getting the right qualifications out of the TAFE system, but this was a way to get around that. So we actually cut through and got a great result. So Liam is just one example of plenty of people who are now in the system and building a life and increased standard of living and just enjoying life. So otherwise he would have been a burden to the taxpayer probably for most of his life. So that's the sort of thing, that's why manufacturing is important and why it matters to a lot of people. So that's, that was probably the basis of how the blueprint came about. And as I said, it's been sliding. It has stabilised a little bit at that 5.9%, but we have a long, long way to go. But there are opportunities there. So that's why you look around the sort of equipment that's on display here, and this is only day one of manufacturing week. So don't think it's dead. There's a long, long way to go for manufacturing and a lot of opportunity, but it's not going to happen by itself. The manufacturers will make it happen. And so part of the reason for this blueprint, we want government to look at what we're doing and just follow our lead. We don't want government to come and tell us how to suck eggs. We know what we need. We know what manufacturing needs. We know what we want to do to employ the people. We'll find the revenue. We'll find the markets. And if government want to help along the way, that's great, but don't tell us what to do. So which is where we think there's a great opportunity there to actually lead this from industry, not the other way around. So it's not, we don't want the tail wagging the dog. So industry is what's going to drive all of this. So I did touch on before about, what makes Australian manufacturing unique. And, Honi touched on the Hills hoist, what was the other one? The Victor lawnmower. Wi-Fi came out of the CSIRO over here in Melbourne, and, a great success story. So we do have a lot of innovation. We've probably slipped back a little bit in that in the last decade or so. So how do we encourage people to invest in manufacturing? Part of the blueprint, we said, okay, make this a 15% tax rate for manufacturers. So that means that you can actually, if you know you're going to get a better return from that investment, well, hopefully we can get money into manufacturing or get investment in, whether it's from overseas or from local, whatever, it doesn't matter. But we need to reinvest and keep investing in, there's lots of good toys here to buy. So it keeps us all occupied. And, at the end of the day, we're all big boys. We love our toys and we love making stuff and, turning a simple product or a raw material into something of value. So that's where manufacturing really does matter for the country. So, I don't want to bore you too much with the details of the blueprint. Plenty of time to read that. And as I said, it's a working document. It's not just something for today. It's it's not really a wish list. It is a working plan. So we'll keep evolving this and we'll keep rolling all these ideas out over the next 5 to 10 years. So, Honi, you've got a fair bit of work to do there on behalf of the board. So, and we've got a few members of the board here today as well, which is good to see. So we're all keen on manufacturing. SEMMA's been a big part of that. We're growing, we're increasing membership as we go. Even through COVID, we're actually one of the few organisations to boost membership. So, we think there's a big future in manufacturing. But it all starts, people have to buy Australian. And I'll give you one last thing before I go. You look at the building trade, the construction, they dig a big hole and fill it up with cheap stuff from China. We actually take raw materials, value add, and hopefully export it and beyond. So that's the difference between the two. Construction gets all the accolades and all the headlines and that. Manufacturing sort of the poor cousin. Well, we want to put manufacturing on the front page for the right reasons because we are a value add industry. Along with mining and agriculture, you make it, you mine it, you grow it. That's where the future of Australia is. So have a read of it. We'll be out there promoting this over the next few years and whatever. And thanks for coming along and happy to take any questions. Thank you.